Summary of Nausea. Explore and question the very essence of existence by Jean-Paul Sartre, written and narrated by JANKY. Introduction. Delve into the captivating world of Nausea, a philosophical masterpiece that delves into the tapestry of everyday life through the profound lens of existentialism. Join Antoine Roquentin, a solitary historian navigating the enchanting French seaport town of Bouville, as he grapples with the relentless quest for meaning in the mundane. Have you ever found yourself wrestling with the mundane aspects of daily existence? If the answer is yes, you're not alone. Nausea immerses you in the tumultuous psyche of Roquentin, a 30-year-old historian meandering through the fictional town, where he confronts the bewildering absurdity of life, giving rise to literal bouts of nausea. Though crafted in the 1930s, Nausea remains a timeless exploration of emotions such as alienation, lethargy, and despondency that resonate with many today. French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre utilizes this narrative to articulate the fundamental tenets of existentialism, a philosophical framework that champions freedom, choice, and the creation of personal meaning. Embark on an auditory journey with this audiobook, accompanying Roquentin as he quests for purpose. Through his Odyssey, gain profound insights into the existentialist principles that underscore the pursuit of freedom, the exploration of one's identity, and the inherent meaninglessness woven into the fabric of human existence. Chapter 1. Antoine's Journal. Before embarking on its narrative journey, Nausea tantalizingly unveils a fictional editor's note, presenting us with the unaltered diary of a Parisian historian named Antoine Roquentin. The diary entries, dating back to 1932, unfold in the imagined French town of Bouville, where Antoine immerses himself in chronicling the fictitious Marquis de Rollevin. As the diary unfolds, Antoine discloses his motivation for chronicling his experiences, a response to unsettling shifts in his emotions and perceptions. Within the confines of his desolate hotel room in Bouville, he divulges the monotony of his days spent researching at the local library, interspersed with leisurely walks, visits to cafes and bars, and casual encounters with women. The cast of characters in his life includes the lingering memory of an ex-lover named Annie, his talkative neighbor Lucy, and the enigmatic autodidact known as the self-taught man, encountered in the library. Amid his solitary existence, Antoine begins to detect peculiar alterations within himself, moments of inexplicable anxiety, a growing aversion to his surroundings, and an overwhelming sense of boredom with his research. The mirror becomes a source of discomfort, and even mundane objects evoke a disturbing sense of dread. Picking up a pebble from the beach induces nausea, exemplifying the unsettling shifts in his psyche. A pivotal moment occurs when Roquentin, seeking solace in a cafe in the hopes of encountering Françoise, his current romantic interest, is instead greeted with the news of her absence. This triggers an indescribable sensation he terms nausea. Despite attempts to distract himself with card games and a movie, the nausea persists, underscoring the pervasive unease within him. In these opening chapters, Sartre skillfully introduces the core existentialist themes that permeate the novel. Antoine grapples with the inherent meaninglessness of existence, recoiling from both people and objects. Sartre's succinct and observant prose sets a bleak tone mirroring Antoine's escalating alienation from the world. Antoine's existential struggle mirrors Sartre's own experiences, as the author commenced writing Nausea in 1932 while residing in Berlin on a fellowship. Parallel to Antoine, Sartre, tasked with a historical biography, drew inspiration from his own battles with anxiety and depression. Sartre's admission of experimenting with the hallucinogenic mescaline prior to writing the novel sheds light on the parallels between the nauseating effects Antoine undergoes and the author's personal explorations. Chapter 2. The Enigma of the Self-Taught Man. Despite the persistent grip of nausea, Antoine perseveres with his work on the Marquis de Rollevin's biography, which progresses at a sluggish pace due to the elusive motivations of his subject causing frustration. One day, as Antoine meanders through the town square, he becomes captivated by a statue, its figure emanating poise and power. Only when the self-taught man taps him on the shoulder does he snap out of his trance. Engaging in conversation, Antoine inquires about the self-taught man's current reading, to which the latter responds with an oddly tinged shame, confessing to perusing books by L'Arbitraire and Lastex. Initially deeming these choices unremarkable, Antoine later realizes the profound nature of the self-taught man's endeavor. He is systematically reading through the entire library in alphabetical order. Impressed by the self-taught man's dedication, Antoine invites him to his hotel, where they explore photographs of Antoine's extensive travels. During their interaction, Antoine questions the self-taught man about his plans once he completes his literary quest. The self-taught man expresses a desire for a genuine adventure, having lived vicariously through books for so long. Reflecting on this, Antoine acknowledges the lack of genuine adventures in his own life, realizing that events appear as random and uncontrollable occurrences, only becoming meaningful in hindsight. The following day, Antoine, deeply affected by the arbitrariness and emptiness of life, grapples with a profound sense of depression. His thoughts then turn to Annie, his ex-lover, recalling her unpredictable moods and her pursuit of perfect moments in romance. Antoine, hesitant to open up to her, questions the authenticity of his love for her. This contemplation intensifies when he receives a letter from Annie, pleading to meet him in Paris soon. As the ongoing battle with nausea unfolds, Antoine grapples with the apparent randomness of existence, struggling to find purpose in work, leisure, and love. This mirrors Sartre's philosophical stance that life inherently lacks intrinsic meaning. However, Sartre views this realization as an extraordinary opportunity, as humans are condemned to be free, carrying both the burdensome responsibility and incredible opportunity to forge their own meaning. The characters of the self-taught man and Annie embody diverse attempts at creating meaning. The former seeks it through a disciplined reading quest, while the latter endeavors to recreate perfect romantic moments inspired by books and movies. Antoine, fascinated by these endeavors, grapples with understanding them, still searching for his own path to creating meaning. Chapter 3. Contemplations on Mortality. Seeking solace amid the weight of Annie's unsettling letter, Antoine retreats to a bar, only to be interrupted by the entrance of Monsieur Achille, a peculiar figure, and the esteemed Dr. Roquentin. Roquentin, contemplating the differences between the two men, finds himself torn between respect for Monsieur Achille's nonconformity and a tinge of envy for Dr. Roquentin's societal success. However, as he observes the frail doctor, Antoine is struck by the realization that death inevitably awaits everyone, regardless of their worldly achievements. In the following days, work on his book sees marginal improvement, bringing Roquentin a fleeting sense of purpose and happiness. Yet the specter of death looms large, returning to haunt his thoughts. In one of his favored cafes, he encounters a distressed waiter fretting over the cafe owner's silence, fearing the worst. Playfully, Antoine sows concern by implying a potential tragedy upstairs, only to leave for the library, where he struggles to concentrate without knowing the cafe owner's fate. Upon returning, he discovers an empty cafe and, the next morning, learns that the cafe owner was merely unwell with the flu. Reflecting on visits to the local museum, where portraits of Bouville's former elite once captivated him, Antoine now feels judged by those powerful figures. He begins to perceive his own existence as devoid of purpose when measured against their grandeur. Tormented by morbid thoughts, Antoine decides to halt work on his book, perceiving his words as devoid of meaning. In a distressing act, he stabs his hand with a knife, watching his blood stain the pages of his diary, summarizing the next day with the stark statement, "Nothing existed." As Annie's impending visit looms, Antoine's existential crisis deepens, marked by a morbid preoccupation with death and an ongoing struggle to reconcile with its arbitrary and inevitable nature. His comparison of the eccentric Monsieur Achille and the accomplished Dr. Roquentin reflects Sartre's own conflict between conforming to societal expectations and embracing a life of nonconformity. The visit to the museum intensifies Antoine's sense of purposelessness, leading him to question the significance of his existence. His descent into self-harm echoes Sartre's belief that humans often deny the inherent meaninglessness of life, confronting existential angst when faced with life's impermanence and the absence of a religious framework to provide solace. Chapter 4: Profound Epiphanies and Existential Struggles. As the imminent reunion with Annie looms, just 4 days away, Antoine finds himself increasingly restless amidst his contemplations on death. During a lunch with the self-taught man, he attempts to articulate his insights into the inherent meaninglessness of life. However, their exchange takes a heated turn, with the self-taught man labeling Antoine a pessimist and recounting his own experiences as a prisoner of war, which instilled in him a profound appreciation for human camaraderie. Antoine dismisses the self-taught man's humanism as naive and barbaric, asserting that it is an affection for the idea of people rather than a genuine love for individuals. The philosophical clash reaches a climax, culminating in Antoine being overcome by nausea, prompting an abrupt departure from the restaurant, leaving other patrons to gaze in bewilderment. As he roams through Bouville, his thoughts gravitate towards the meaninglessness of language, realizing that words such as bus and seat are mere illusions. In a seemingly revelatory moment, Antoine shares with his diary the understanding that the nausea is not external, but an integral part of himself. He reflects on the lessons the nausea has taught him. Everything comes into existence without reason, persists in existence out of ignorance, and ceases to exist arbitrarily. Antoine believes he has comprehended the essence of life, deciding to leave Bouville permanently for Paris. At the train station, a long-awaited sense of adventure accompanies him. As the anticipated reunion with Annie approaches, a tense debate ensues where Antoine vehemently defends his nihilistic worldview against the self-taught man's humanist critique. Antoine perceives existence as utterly meaningless, dismissing the self-taught man's humanism as naive. Sartre, as an existentialist, would likely criticize Antoine for failing to recognize the potential for creating meaning through choices and actions, as well as the moral obligations toward others. Antoine, mired in despair and symbolic of his inability to find purpose, seeks an escape to Paris instead of embracing the duty to create meaning from life's absurdity. Chapter 5: The Promise of Existentialism. In Paris, Antoine visits Annie in her hotel room, where he is struck by the visible aging of someone he realizes he has loved all along. However, Annie reveals that their past romance is over, and she has embarked on a new life with an older Englishman who provides her with luxury. She dismisses Antoine's theory of existence as selfish, highlighting his failure to care about others while seeking acknowledgement from the universe for himself. Their encounter ends with an unreciprocated, passionate embrace, leaving Antoine alone with the realization that all his reasons for existence, Annie, his book, his past travels, have vanished, leaving him completely free. Upon returning to Bouville to gather his belongings, he witnesses the downfall of the self-taught man, banned from the library for inappropriate behavior with a Boy Scout. At the train station cafe, Antoine bids farewell to familiar faces, including Françoise and Madeleine, and, inspired by a jazz record, contemplates the possibility of writing a novel to make sense of his life. As he boards the train, Antoine feels on the verge of a new beginning, leaving Bouville with determination, a sense of possibility, and a glimmer of hope. In the concluding stages of the book, Antoine awakens to the core tenet of existentialism, recognizing life's emptiness as an opportunity. Sartre's philosophy emphasizes humans' right and duty to create their own essence through meaningful choices. Antoine's meeting with Annie underscores the consequences of neglecting this duty, as Annie relinquishes the search for meaning, allowing someone else to dictate her fate. Antoine's decision to write a novel serves as a metaphor for beginning to shape his own narrative, mirroring Sartre's own shift from a historical project to writing Nausea. While Antoine has not fully grasped his moral responsibility, Sartre would likely approve of his newfound freedom. Sartre's evolving philosophy emphasizes the ethical engagement that accompanies freedom, and the self-taught man serves as a cautionary example of misdirected freedom. While Antoine's moral obligation remains unfulfilled, his determination to create meaning offers hope that he will eventually navigate the path towards a fuller understanding of existential responsibilities. Summary: Nausea intricately weaves the existential crisis of historian Antoine Roquentin as he strives to complete a book in the fictional town of Bouville. The narrative unfolds through Roquentin's diary entries, providing a glimpse into his daily navigation through the library, cafes, and museums within his bourgeois surroundings. As Roquentin grapples with the mundane aspects of life, an abrupt realization of life's absurdity engulfs him in overwhelming nausea. Encounter by encounter, whether with the enigmatic self-taught man or his former lover Annie, he confronts the relentless march of death and the inherent meaninglessness embedded in existence. The diary entries bear witness to his struggles with boredom, the pangs of loneliness, and a pervasive sense of disconnection. Ultimately, Roquentin reaches a pivotal moment where he resolves to write a novel, a profound decision signaling his embrace of existentialist philosophy's core tenet. In this act, he acknowledges the responsibility to forge his own meaning within the seemingly meaningless fabric of the world. The narrative culminates in a journey of self-discovery, where Roquentin, having confronted the abyss of existential angst, strives to justify his existence through the act of creation. This audiobook summary was brought to you by JANKY. We hope you enjoyed it.